Hey everybody, I am on the line right now with Don Callis. You know him from his work with Impact Wrestling. You've seen him take on a more substantial role being at the side of Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, in recent months. This is a big week for you. Impact's Rebellion pay-per-view is this coming Sunday. You've been promising a lot of surprises, history being made. There's no shortage of hype we can put behind it. Going to talk to you about Rebellion and everything else that we've seen, and some of the stuff we haven't seen that you've teased in recent weeks as we get into this call. But first, I'll ask how you doing today.
I'm excellent.
So you've been the personal relationship that you have with Kenny Omega was really put first when you first kind of showed your cards a little bit a few months ago. But what kind of value does he bring to the Impact World Championship that you can see if you're looking at it from the perspective of an Impact executive? Because you've been very forward in talking about, you know, how you see him and how you've known him over the years, but what value can he bring to Impact if he wins on Sunday?
Well, he's Kenny Omega. I mean, I think Impact Wrestling, Scott D'Amore and myself have always wanted to have the best wrestlers and to have the best wrestling. And I think that certainly extends to the championship. And I think in Rich Swann, we have a guy who is a phenomenal, incredible talent and someone who has had an opportunity to show exactly that. So whether Kenny wins or Rich is victorious, I think at the end of the day, the fans of Impact Wrestling win because whoever that person is will be the best wrestler. I mean, if you go back to, you know, when I was a kid growing up and you had AWA Wrestling in Winnipeg and Nick Bockwinkel was our champion and then Ric Flair was the champion of the NWA. You know, wouldn't you have loved to have seen who was the better wrestler? Who was the better performer? What would happen if they wrestled? And, you know, these are the sorts of questions that people have asked over and over again for a generation. And very rarely have we ever gotten to actually witness this. So to me, it's like you're getting to see something that historically just doesn't happen and is almost impossible to put together as a promoter or a booker or whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the day, the fans win because they're witnessing history. Because when was the last time this happened on a big scale? And whoever wins, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's like you want the best person to have your world title. That's how I've always looked at it. And whether it's Kenny or Rich, we'll see. I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup that, you know, people have been waiting to see, and they're going to get to see it at Rebellion.
I think people can admit that, you know, speaking in terms of the I'll call it antiquated terms of babyface and heel and, you know, these different wrestling terms, you aren't exactly being a, you know, you're not acting like a heel. Like, you are still very complimentary of Rich, what he brings to the table, what kind of champion he's been for the company so far. But in the, you know, at the same time, you're just telling him what you believe to be the truth is Kenny's the best wrestler in the world. And Tony Khan is saying the same thing. Kenny's the best wrestler in the world. The deck is stacked against you, he put during the press conference the other day. So I think, more to your point, you're getting to experience something that people didn't think they would see, especially not today. But one other thing I did notice is it seems like you are having more fun. Is that fair to say, that this whole thing is kind of brought out maybe a more whimsical side to you, or allowed you to relax just because of the nature of it, where you don't know if we're ever going to have it again on TV. So maybe you're like sitting back and enjoying it a little bit more.
People point out to me frequently, do you even ever stop to think about what you've accomplished? You know, it's, I'm in a constant state of personal happiness because, and I'm able to achieve that kind of, I've called it next level consciousness, simply because I actually don't care what anybody thinks. And I actually don't care about what the ratings say or what the reviewers say or what someone says how many stars a match was, or, you know, someone sent me something that was written by Dave Meltzer that said that one of the promos I did with Rich Swann, speaking on television on an Impact Wrestling television program, was the best thing you'll ever see on a wrestling show. And that literally has no effect on me. I don't care any more than I would if he said it was the worst thing that you've ever seen. I know why I do things. I'm comfortable with why I do them. You know, it's because when you've changed the course of wrestling, not once, but twice, and maybe a third time is coming now, little things like having a great interview segment really are inconsequential. And so, you know, like people say, oh, how can you say Kenny's the best wrestler in the world, you know, and not say that about Rich? Well, because Rich hasn't proven it. He may prove it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to place a bet on this match. I mean, of course I'm going to say it's probably Kenny, but I don't know. And the reality is, the difference is, Kenny's proven it. And I'm not just talking about AEW. Kenny was the best wrestler in the world when I was calling his matches and traveling with him in Japan. He's been the best wrestler in the world for a few years now. And so people want to say that that's some sort of a controversial term that should get heat or whatever. It's like, well, if it's not him, who has it been? Who's been the best wrestler in the world for the last 4 or 5 years? If it's not Kenny Omega, tell me who it is. I mean, I don't, and I would say that whether Kenny was my family or not.
We're gonna find out Sunday, no matter what. As they said the other day, their Impact and AEW are both going to have the same champion. It's just going to be the same person. What do you think that element does moving forward for both companies? Because not only is there the answer to that question of two companies having their champions fight, who comes out on top, but you know, this also changes the television dynamic. Do you look at it as far as that, like how it, because people have been pretty much asking for an answer, like where does this go? I think one person holding both titles is sort of the answer they've been looking for.
People who ask, where is this going? It's like, we haven't even had the match yet. And now everyone wants to know, well, how is the schedule going to work? I encourage people to live in the moment. Most people in the world do not live in the moment. Most people either live in the past regretting, or they live in the future having anxiety about what might happen. And that's exactly what you're describing. Well, okay, great. We're getting this history-making match, but what's going to happen with the title defenses and the schedule and the Thursday night, Wednesday night? I literally will leave that diving into the weeds of insignificance to the Scotts and Tonys of the world who, you know, may or may not care about that. I don't know. But like, I really don't care what Rich or Kenny's schedule is or what their obligations are in terms of title defenses, because at the end of the day, we're going to make history. The fact that this match is happening is a testament to not just me, but to Scott D'Amore, Ed Nordholm, Len Asper, Tony Khan. that these people all had the foresight to realize that despite all of the political boundaries that have existed in wrestling, that this was a chance to make history. And Tony Khan's taken a chance sending Kenny Omega to an Impact ring in a title unification. Scott D'Amore and Ed Nordholm and Len Asper are taking a chance, and so am I, by having an Impact champion wrestle a guy who's been the best wrestler in the world for a number of years. But everyone sees the value of having an opportunity to be a part of history. So what happens, I keep telling people, just be in the moment, because as soon as you try to figure out what myself or Kenny Omega are doing, we're going to go the other direction, and we're going to change the whole narrative on you. So I always encourage fans and people involved with wrestling, stop trying to figure it out. We're operating at a different level. Just sit back and enjoy and be a part of history, because that's really the era that we're in right now, the era of the invisible hand. And it means that you get to see things like the Tokyo Dome match with Jericho and Omega. You get to see an Impact Wrestling executive cross over into AEW and be a part of Kenny Omega winning the title from Jon Moxley. You get to see the Good Brothers come from Impact Wrestling to AEW. No one ever thought that would happen. You get to see the Young Bucks back together with Kenny and the Good Brothers with my guidance and assistance. You get to see a title versus title match that people just have not gotten the chance to see hardly ever in history. You're getting to see all of that. And a year ago, you would have predicted none of it. So I encourage people to stop trying to figure out what's going to happen and just sit back and live in the moment.
At the same time, would you also encourage them to stop asking what else is missing? Or because there's been the argument, okay, well, why isn't Impact on AEW TV, or why isn't it balanced, or why isn't this name on this show? Would you encourage them in that same respect to just enjoy what is being seen on TV and stop asking more questions?
Well, I don't know what people want to see. I mean, you have Don Callis, you have the Good Brothers on AEW TV whenever we want to be. Why is Tony Khan allowing that to happen? Well, guess what? Kenny Omega and I have the AEW World Championship. Now we also have the Young Bucks. Now we also have the Good Brothers. That's power. This is, many people have been speculating, this is the most powerful, if you want to call it a stable, in wrestling since the NWO. And let's face it, the talent in this is much better. You want to compare, it's not even apples to apples. It's apples to dog turds. If you want to try to compare the Young Bucks to Hall and Nash, or you want to try to compare Kenny Omega to Hulk Hogan, that's a joke from a talent perspective. You want to compare the Young Bucks to Hall and Nash, that's a joke from a talent perspective. As great as I think Scott Hall was as a wrestler, I think Carl Anderson's much better. So this is the best and most powerful group of wrestlers that have come together across company lines. So my mission was never to, let me see how many Impact wrestlers I can get onto AEW, or how many AEW wrestlers I can get onto Impact. It was never the point. So if what people want is to see some sort of, open door policy working arrangement, I'll leave that to Tony and Scott. That's not my agenda at all.
Before we get to the main event, we have a jam-packed Rebellion card on Sunday night. Is there anything else that you in particular would like to take a moment to praise, or is there a match that you're really looking forward, maybe a singles competitor or a team on that card that doesn't get enough credit that they deserve that you've seen?
This is this is a card that, me as a 30-year veteran of being around this industry, this is one of those ones where I would probably buy a ticket if I had to. The main event we've been talking about for 20 minutes, but I am very, very excited about the Knockouts title match with Deonna Purrazzo and Tennille Dashwood. I think that's going to be great. You want to talk interpromotional angles? The Good Brothers, who are great friends of mine, facing Finn Juice, who are two guys I spent a lot of time with in New Japan. I like those kids a lot. That's going to be a phenomenal World Tag Team Championship match. And then a guy that I've had a lot of time for, Ace Austin, defending against TJP and Josh Alexander. That's going to be a great three-way for the X title. Sami Callihan, someone who I've had a lot of negative experiences with, but you cannot deny the tenacity of him against the returning Trey Miguel. I mean, those are just some of the matches, but those are the ones that I'm really looking forward to. There's no fill on any Impact. Scott D'Amore and I have put on many pay-per-views the last 3 years. There's never fill. There's never popcorn matches. It's all stuff that we think is 7-star in our opinion to put on. And I think that this pay-per-view Rebellion, a lot of the buzz, as you say, is about the main event. But the card is stacked top to bottom, and it's going to be great. And I'm super excited as well that Mauro Ranallo is going to be part of the broadcast team for Rebellion. I think that's something that a lot of fans are buzzing about. Hey, if you couldn't have Don Callis back on color, then I guess you can enjoy Mauro Ranallo being part of that team, along with Matt Stryker and D'Lo, who've been doing a great job. And I'm also excited because Impact is now on Thursday nights once again, and that's been great so far, and I'm looking forward to more of it. And I'm even getting buzzed by a lot of fans about the Impact celebration at the virtual fan fest. A lot of people had a lot of fun with that. Limited registration, still available at impactwrestling.com. So there's a lot going on. It really is a festival-like atmosphere for the Rebellion pay-per-view.
Yeah, imagine going this long into the call and not mentioning Mauro Ranallo is making his wrestling return, which is, if that's not a stamp of approval, I don't know what is. It's going to be exciting to see him back. But like you said, there's very often times where in wrestling, like there's a pay-per-view where it's, okay, here's the main event, it'll sell on that, and then it's a clunker. This card, top to bottom, has everything. If you're, I don't know how anybody that's going to listen or read this is on the fence about the show. There's everything. There's your main event, women's matches, hardcore matches, everything you could think of. But you're gonna get a chance to find all that out. Who wins, whatever. Just like Don said, enjoy the moment, live in the moment. Celebration. You can find out more info on impactwrestling.com and check out Rebellion on Sunday night, April 25th. Don, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you, sir.